We're live.
We're
Good morning.
live. Good morning.
Welcome. How are you today?
Thank you.
It's a beautiful day. I'm Barry Smith.
I'm Beth.
Welcome to Radio Tiny House. We hope you are having a great morning. Today is Wednesday. We're a day late, maybe $1 short. I don't know, but we're certainly a day late. It's the 24th of February. It's wonderful weather here.
You're not supposed to confess that we're a day late.
Oh, okay. We're
on time.
not a day, but I always say it's Tuesday. So it's Wednesday, then that's different. So we have a special guest with us today, so we're going to get pretty much right to it. I'm going to say, Caroline, what happened this morning?
Well, my children came to tell me that the dog, our Great Pyrenees, had a chicken, one of our chickens, who had flown out of the coop. So we went and rescued the chicken, who was totally fine. The dog was trying to get her back into her space. Yeah, that was an interesting morning, trying to get the dog situated away from the chicken, and get the chicken back into her coop.
So this is Tiny House 1. This is actually before Tiny House 2, the shed house, was built, but
we were actually still building when this rainbow was happening, and I was running up the driveway yelling at people to give me a camera.
What a perfect picture of such a wonderful house.
Yeah. And so anyway, Caroline, our daughter, is with us today, and she is a book editor and lives in our front yard, or we live in her backyard. And so we wanted to talk to her about her living in a tiny house 1, but also wanted to talk about her. She's part of our new work from home series.
Right.
Because Caroline works from home. We work from home, obviously, mostly. But I just wanted to have the opportunity to share what Caroline's lifestyle has turned into, and the fact that she is works from home, and I'll let her talk about that. All right, why don't we do the next
ready to
slide?
Move to the next side? Well, I also want to add that if Caroline weren't working from home, she would not be able to have a chicken chasing experience because she would be commuting somewhere.
That's true, yes. Caroline.
That is true.
I'd rather chase chickens than commute.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, so we're going on to picture 2. I have no idea what it is.
No, he hasn't even seen this presentation.
Because I haven't seen the presentation yet, but I know the house.
Yeah, right.
So, oh, well, that's not a house. That is our beautiful daughter.
In front of, this is a little sneak peek we'll talk about today.
In front of a lot of books.
Right.
Because not only is Caroline an editor,
a book
editor, she's also an author. She's our author in residence.
So the first book in the back is called Perspective Parenting, and it is about raising your children with a grateful mindset. It's particularly for single parents because I have been one for the last 6 years or so. And I had a lot of questions about how I was raising my children to be as conscientious as they are and as well-mannered. And so my answer to that was this book, and it talks about a lot of the practices that we have in our house. We do a lot of gratitude experiences every night at dinner. We do what's called Rose and Thorn, where we talk about the good things that have happened and the things that we're grateful for. And last night, Aiden's 2 things that he was grateful for. Well, he had 4. He had 2 video game related things and 2 non-video game related things. And his 2 non-video game related things were Happen Mom. He was grateful that we had played Minecraft with him yesterday.
Yes.
But also just, we do a lot of meditation in our house. And slowing down and trying to think about things from a holistic perspective as a parent. And I think that parenting is an opportunity to be grateful, and it's such a gift. Even doing it alone, I think it can be really challenging, but it's, there's a lot of support systems in place and a lot of things that can be helpful if you're looking for them. And it doesn't have to be something that's such a chore. And then the book underneath that is Writing as Meditation, which is a book that I put out just last year. I had been thinking about it a lot, and it's essentially a guidebook for people who want to write their own books. It's things that I've taken from workshops throughout the years and just put it in book form and made it essentially a writing journal. So anyone who's looking to write a book can use that as kind of their springboard for finishing their book. And then the last one is my first work of fiction. It is a romance novel, and I should say that it's probably for people 18 and over. I had someone
Which is
tell
why
me
your
the other day-
parents haven't read it.
Wait a minute. I'm
Have not read
18,
it.
baby.
No, it's just that part was just kind of weird for me. So we want to support you, but we haven't read it.
No, that's fine. I have thought about doing a redacted copy for family members.
For parents?
Yes. Where, I'll just take a Sharpie and X out
That's right.
all of those parts.
Top
It's not
secret.
erotica. It's not erotica. It's just a steamy romance novel. But I did have a friend of mine the other day say she was a little shocked because she thought it was going to be sweet. And it is not a sweet book necessarily, which is where those scenes are not shown. But it takes place out on a ranch in Wyoming.
That sounds familiar.
Yes, I lived out on a dude ranch for a summer. And so that's where a lot of that takes place. And the main character, her name is Catherine, and she's a single mom. And she has a horse rehabilitation ranch, essentially. And she is a second chance romance for people who are interested in that in romance novels. It's a trope. But it was a lot of fun to write. And my parents know this, obviously, but I am getting my MFA in creative writing. So right now I'm putting together a short story collection, which will be part of my thesis project for next year. And it revolves mostly around Southern Gothic as a genre. So I really enjoy being able to write a lot of different things and a lot of different topics to kind of, broaden my horizons as a writer and an author. But Under a Blanket of Blue does have a sequel that I'm working on as well. So always writing, pretty much every day.
Good.
Writing.
Always writing. That's right.
Okay. While she wasn't in mid sentence, I wanted you to see if we can flip to her. We're working through this, and I'll edit this out to where you can see her.
Oh, just her? No.
When she's talking. There. Be nice to be able to see her when she's talking.
Oh, that's a much better picture.
Yeah.
You don't have to edit this out. I love unedited stuff.
Well, but I want them to see pictures, but okay.
Okay, so moving on.
Now you're going to have to share that screen.
Yes. So this is, Beth always calls this the inspiration for Tiny House 1.
Right.
But what's missing from Tiny House 1?
The porches. I complain about it all the time, but we're going to get there eventually. We have plans.
I'm going to change your mom's middle name. She's going to be Beth Porches Smith.
Right.
Almost every episode, she talks about the porches on either your house or the double porches she wants on our house. So.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So this was our inspiration for Tiny House 1. I saw this picture, and then we kind of got inspired from that. And honestly, I can't find the architect anymore. I would love to give attribution to them, but I can't find them. Barry's playing with the screen.
I hit the blue dot.
Right. So anyway, but the next shot is our version of this house. And so I wanted to just show kind of the steps. Eventually, Caroline will have these porches. Her plan is to not only do the wrap porch on the side you can see, but she wants to go all the way around. Is that right, Caroline?
Yeah, it should wrap on 3 sides, essentially. And then once I add my bedroom, it'll have its own little porch on that side as well.
Right.
And your plan is to add a downstairs bedroom in the back, right off the living room. And we're going to take a tour of your house, but obviously, as a part of our work from home series, we want to make sure we talk a little bit about the opportunity to work from home. And there's our version of it. Now, clearly the bottom isn't finished yet. We will eventually, when Caroline puts those porches on the outside, and this was early on. This was just when it had been spray painted, no red door yet.
No steps yet.
No steps.
This is when we had the elevator. You could get it with.
But I felt this was a clear way to see the contrast between what we have and what we started, where we're headed. And, for us, it'll be a several-year project.
My ex-husband and I started the framing, and we did pretty much all of the downstairs, and we got the joists in for the upstairs floor. And then we got to the roof section, and it was really challenging to try to get the upstairs framing done, and just everything that needed to happen in the house, because it didn't have a roof, was kind of bowing outward.
Right.
So we had to figure out a way to pull all of that in. But in the midst of all of that, my ex-husband decided to leave us, not die,
Yes.
just, left.
Right.
So I pulled in some friends of mine that are contractors, and they literally, and I was pregnant with our third child when all of this was going on too. So they literally got straps and had to pull the house back in order to get in order to get the roof up, getting ready. And so, yeah, it was an interesting project, but it sat without its roof or beams or anything for a while. And we were worried about the integrity of, the lumber being out in the elements for so long, but it probably sat that way for, I don't know, 6 to 8 months. Maybe not quite that long, but about at least 6 months.
Right. And then, I think it's fair to talk about that, because things do happen. These journeys are not easy. And we had to call in some professionals, because this was something that was beyond our ability, really, to do ourselves, or our choice. We laugh and say we don't do things that will kill us. If you see that ladder right there, that's almost 20 feet off the ground. We are not climbing that ladder.
Oh, I'd climb the ladder, but I wouldn't get on the roof.
That too. And we
Well,
did have roofers.
I have a picture of Joseph up on, way high up in the middle, trying to get those beams in, and the straps that he and Chris had to use to pull it all together. And his mom saw the picture and she was like, "Is that my son up there?" Because it was high. It's very high.
It's high. And we didn't realize what we were getting into. But, and we were kind of relying on Caroline's ex-husband, who had some construction experience. But once he left, we had to solve the problem. So we called in everybody we knew. We called in professionals. We called in friends. We worked on it. I don't know. It felt like night and day forever.
Yeah, it was a lot
of work,
but it was worth it in the end.
Worth it in the end. Okay.
All right.
And, I kind of equate it to like one of those community barn builds, because we literally, I had my friends camping out in my front yard in order to help us finish this project, which, even on my best days would have been challenging, but with 3 little ones underfoot and or being pregnant through some of that, there was just no way I was going to be able to get this done all by myself.
Now here's that ladder going up to that very tall window. My goal was someday to put batons on here and make it farmhousey with the batons, but I don't know that I'm ever climbing up a ladder.
We've lost that ladder.
Hey, and that's me.
That is you.
Yeah, hanging those joists for that second floor.
Yep.
And those are actually exposed. You can see those. So I have in my living room, you can see all of those beams. I really loved that exposed beam look. And so we left that open, and I think Mom has some feelings about that, but I love the way it looks open. It just makes it, in a small house, I think with exposed beams, and the more open you can get, the bigger it feels. So it's really lovely to me that it's still open.
Yeah, I like it open too.
I do. It's just you can see some of the electrical wires, and my brain doesn't like that. And we've got some boxing we need to do around some. I mean, there's always projects when you build a house, you never finish it.
No,
right? You go, I would like to add this. I didn't do that, or that trim would look better. So there's always something in your head you'd like to go back and finish. And I would like to get the boxes around her lights.
I like it because it's kind of farmhouse industrial.
It is. And we'll see. We'll show those beams in a minute. They're in there.
But there's Caroline swinging a hammer. So she really does know how
to hammer.
Hammer. Yep.
I do. And there's a picture of me using a saw too. And
I have that in here, I think.
Oh, good. You may have this in here, but we were talking about, having to stop and feed the babies and change diapers and things. And, I nursed while I was painting the well house. I nursed my youngest while I was putting the tile floor down in the bathroom. There's a picture of her laying in my lap while I'm putting grout and tile down. And, so those are experiences you really just don't get in when you're not doing a project like this.
That's exactly right.
And that's the good and the bad of that. I mean, like when you're in it, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Right? Is this never ending?
And now Caroline even fixes her own dishwasher.
That's true.
I do. I try to fix most of my appliances.
But, there she is.
Oh, there
She's
I
sawing.
am.
Yeah.
You know, I was what, 28, 26, 27, 28 when we were doing all of this. And I will say that more than anything, this gave me the ability to consider myself very resilient, and that if I can build a house, I can do pretty much anything. Of course, again, I had help with all of that, but this was a huge learning curve, and I had no construction skills whatsoever. And, you know, my kids laugh at me because I have my own toolbox now. But I've basically come to the conclusion that there's not a whole lot that I can't fix on my own, which I hope is something that I teach them as well.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is, you know, most of what we would build or maybe even fix, except maybe a car, you can look anything up on YouTube and learn how to do whatever you want to do. It's all a matter of wanting to do it. Yes, it's much easier to pick up the phone and call, you know, a dishwasher repair person, if you can even find one these days. But there's a lot of satisfaction in doing it yourself. So
yep.
I'm very proud that you do that.
Well, thank you. Oh, there's Mom.
So I wanted to show that I too was working on the house.
Notice though, she's not actually using the gun. She's just pointing it and posing. So
that is not true. That is not true. And we don't have a picture of this because teenagers, and Caroline didn't have a chance to get pictures of that, but this is a little niche we put in the upstairs kids' bedroom. It's kind of like a book reading nook. Of course, and we didn't even know at that time we were going to have this many books in this house.
Nope.
But they can add it as an extra place for somebody to sleep. It's just a little nook on top of the stairs, but we'll show that eventually.
Yeah, I think I have a picture of that actually, but I didn't send it to you.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah, we have a mattress on it right now for extra sleeping, but it was a bed. I mean, you know, before I got Brianna's bed, it was her bed where she was sleeping. So
yeah, that's right.
We did use it as a bed. Little kids, you know, but.
So this is downstairs. This is the downstairs flooring. And this came from a house that he had demolished or helped demolish. And it's very old. How old is it?
180 years old. Well, by now, almost 190 years. I've been saying 180 years for, you know, almost 7 years that we've been in this house, or 6 years, I guess. It's white oak, and he found it in a house that had burned down in South Georgia and pulled the house apart. And so we ended up using a lot of that for not only the floor, but also the molding and the staircase. The staircase has this beautiful piece of oak that you don't really notice unless it's pointed out. It kind of looks like a railroad tie, but it was one of the original beams to the original house. And it's kind of the centerpiece of my stairs, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have shots of that. And, you know, I put this picture in here because this is all reclaimed. And these boards are not perfect by any means. As you see, we're trying to make them work. And this is just a dry fit to try to even see if we had enough boards to make this flooring work. So it's a little uneven. If I had the time and a planer, I would have planed it. But we did strip all the paint off. We stripped wallpaper off.
Pulled nails out.
Ridiculous project. And then we were halfway through it. I'm like, what are we doing? Let's just get some linoleum and throw it down. It would be funny because Mom, you know, I'd come over and pull nails, and Mom would go, well, what'd you do today? And I was like, well, I pulled nails out of 3 boards. And she'd be like, 3 boards? That's all you did? Well, it was 10,000 nails in those boards. They'd all been there for 100 years. And of course, then we were worried about bugs,
yeah.
Right? So we sprayed some salt solution. I don't even remember what it was. We found it on the internet, and every board was stripped of paint and wallpaper. It was debugged, and it was a crazy project. Was it worth it, Caroline?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love my floors. They're sometimes a pain because they're not grouted, or, we had planned to put resin in, but then we just needed to get in the house.
Right.
So that's going to be another project, but that also requires moving everything out of my living room and kitchen, because I'd
Right.
like to be able to pour, resin over the entire floor,
Right.
so that we salvage the wood and it kind of acts as a grout. So, we lose pencils in between the colored
Yes.
pencils and crayons sometimes. But, I have a great little vacuum that helps with all of the dog hair and the pencils and things in between, but it's
Right.
completely worth it. It's totally worth
Well-
it. And I take very
Well-
good care of them with Murphy's oil wash.
And they are way better than the floors that we've got.
Yeah, we hate our floors. So other thing is we have found some wide crack grout that I would like, not grout, but like caulk or something somebody recommended to me, and I sent it to you, Caroline. We need to try it, experiment, so you don't have to lose pencils. But we did the best job we could to try to pull this together. But when you're working with 180-year-old oak, I can promise you it doesn't move much if you're trying to
No.
adjust it.
No.
No, it was
You
going to
do
do
what
its
it
own
wants to do.
Yep.
Right. And we wanted to leave the boards as wide as we could, as big as we could, because it has so much wonderful texture. But you'll see a few shots of it. Caroline's got carpets on it to kind of protect it, but we've got some later shots. Oh, that's us staining it in the middle of the night one night.
Yeah.
After
that
we'd
was
kind of
fun.
gotten it installed. Yes. And then we had to shut the door and let it, dry
and
and then
cure
do another
for
coat.
a million years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we wanted to leave some of that back up if you would. You can see we left some of the paint color on it. And I think
Right
that gives
here?
it some there. And on that blue one right
Right
there.
here?
Yeah. It kind of gives it some personality, but yeah, that was a big job. And it was near the end of our build and we were like, what are we doing? We are crazy people. This is crazy.
This is upstairs, I guess.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about how crazy this was. We used tar paper, which was kind of weird because instead of house wrap, we used old timey tar paper, and it kind of smelled for a while, kind of off gassed, and I wasn't sure that was a good idea. But someone told me that in order to have a green standard in your build, you needed to caulk. My electrician actually told me this. You needed to caulk. So I took every beam, what do we call this, 2x4 stud, and caulked around it. That was another crazy project. I don't even know if that was
you.
worth
I think
it.
we all
No,
helped
I
with
know,
that.
but I mean, I was like intent about doing this because our first build, I wanted to do everything perfectly right.
Yep.
I wanted to give Caroline the best house in the end, so I was a bit crazy,
Well,
and I caulked every piece.
We did a lot of that in when Tuff Shed came out and built our house.
Yeah,
They got the framing up, but before that, I mean, we fire caulked everything. We
we were
caulked
just a little
in places
crazy
where
about
we
it.
thought there might be air loss.
So I know Barry and Caroline thought I was crazy when I'm like, you have to caulk all those things.
I think that's a good thing, actually.
And you can see there's also some fire caulk between that that electrical
Right here.
line right there.
Yeah, the red stuff is fire caulk, and our code is that any hole that goes through a joist, any kind of 2x4, either in the floor or in the wall, has to be caulked with fire caulk.
Yeah. So I know I drove you crazy. I'm sorry, people.
Well, I don't know. I think that was before and after that has continued, but that's a different podcast, I think.
That's a different podcast. Now
All right.
we get to see the pretty things.
So yeah,
I love
so
my house.
It looks so sweet.
this is a great picture.
Uh,
And the color of that back wall is just amazing.
Yeah, you did a great job.
I really love navies, obviously. And that wall is called Inked. It's a bear paint, I believe, that I got at Home Depot, but I wanted a feature wall. And I, even though I live in a very small space, I consistently move my furniture around about every 6 months.
Yes, you do.
So it looks different, every time my friends come over and see it. I've moved some things around, and sometimes it's in a similar pattern. But, I think a lot of people, when they live in small spaces, feel very stuck in what their decor is. But that definitely has not been the case for me. I love to, rearrange my furniture and move things around, move my television around. And I'm really happy with the way it is right now because we still have a lot of space. But I really did want to have a feature wall, and you can see I have my navy curtains up for winter, but those will get changed out for summer. I've got some kind of gauzy white curtains that I put up for summer to let all the natural light in. And that's something, my house is very energy efficient. And we have these big windows, and I have them all over the house. I really wanted as much, I hate overhead lights. I wanted as much natural light as possible. So we've got a lot of big windows upstairs, windows in every bedroom. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 windows downstairs, including the little windows that are in the doors. And, it holds heat really well in the winter. It does get warm in the summer, but, we positioned it intentionally so that we could get as much natural gain as possible as far as heat and light. And that has worked out really, really well for us.
Good. And you can see in the top of the picture, you can see it if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, then the ceiling in the downstairs in the living room is, the whole downstairs is open. It's painted white, and it's just open beams, which is quite nice.
Right. So let's talk about dimensions of this room, because people always want to know about floor plans and things. This house is 28, if I remember right, Caroline. It's 16 by 28, yes. 2 stories.
Yep.
So this space, the living room, it's basically a living room, kitchen, and bathroom downstairs. And then you'll see upstairs, it's 2 bedrooms and an office. The office is in that dormer that was on the front. So,
which is a great workspace.
Yeah, it's a great workspace.
That's one of my favorite spaces in the whole house.
So anyway, yeah, it is an amazing view. We're so lucky. But so the room you're looking at right now is 16 wide, but then the Caroline chose to do, which I think was really valuable, instead of putting a closed in, very narrow staircase, her stairs are 4 feet wide. I think that number is right. And the stairs, we have 3-foot wide stairs in our house, and I wish we had done the 4-foot, although, you lose some space, but walking up her stairs, it just feels so good because the stairs are open and they're wide. And we'll see a picture of those in a minute.
And easy to move stuff up and down.
Right.
That's what I was going to say. That has been the best part of having wide stairs, is that, it's not a pain in the butt to move furniture up and down the steps.
Right.
You come to the woman who moves her furniture all the time.
You come to a nice wide landing, and then it's so easy just to turn and make that turn and go up the rest of the way. All right. Oh, the sofa. Oh, a dog.
Yeah. We had to have that picture in there.
Do what?
One of many.
Right. In this picture, we didn't talk about it too much. These windows we found in somebody who was selling like reclaimed windows, right? But they were low E. And one of the things that we see in people's houses that we're in our group, Facebook group or other Facebook groups, is people use inexpensive windows.
Right.
These are inexpensive because we found them on Facebook or something, but they're
Craigslist, I think it was.
Craigslist, but they're high energy or high efficiency windows. And especially back to your point about your house being pretty energy efficient, we used R38 insulation in the ceiling. We used R38 on the under the floor. But then we also have high energy windows, and that was also part of our code. We had to do it.
Right.
But I don't regret it at all.
Well, the high efficiency windows are great because you don't have heat loss. You don't lose your air conditioning out of them.
And Caroline gets lots of light because she can have big windows.
Yeah. So it's that was a good find, and a lot of people in the shed group that we have, and in other shed groups as well, they want to do things that are thrifty.
Right.
But you don't have to put up with the normal, just a shed window that you get in most of these sheds, especially the drag and drop sheds. You can go out and find something that's inexpensive, but still an HE window. Moving on.
There are those stairs.
There's the big wide stairs and the sofa that is there in this picture, but in
might
2
be somewhere
weeks,
else next week.
When spring comes, it will be in a different position. And
we're always surprised when we go in there.
an elephant on the wall going up the stairs, which I of course love because I love elephants.
And so does
Well,
Caroline,
yes, she does.
obviously.
Yep, you can see that one on the stairs. There's one behind my head right here. I'm wearing one. I have them all over my house. I do actually talk about that in my perspective parenting book, and how, being an elephant mom is not like being a tiger mom, but they're just so amazingly child friendly in terms of, raising their children and how they raise them. And it's just really fascinating. But my stairs are one of my favorite parts of my house. You can tell clearly I don't have enough books or bookcases, because there's one under the stairs and then there's another one on the landing.
Two of them on the landing.
That piece of wood, two of them on the landing. Yep. The piece of wood that I was mentioning is that brown piece that's unpainted right in the center, right behind the sofa. And then the one at the end with the newel post is also reclaimed.
Well, your stair tread, excuse me, is also reclaimed. And the great thing about that is that these were all hand sawn.
Right.
And you can see the saw marks in some of these. Now, they may have gotten worn off by now just from walking over them, but I always thought that was really cool that you could see the saw marks from where they cut the lumber.
And it's very rustic. I mean, it doesn't fit perfectly. There's a little crack here or there, but that's what really makes this house charming.
Yeah.
I mean, when you walk into Caroline's house, we didn't know what we were creating, that the rustic pieces would make it feel so homey. But it does.
It does.
Caroline has friends from the city, we'll say, that just always never want to leave. They love her house.
Well, and I think there's a lot to that. It's the pieces in it, and kind of the pieces that I've chosen to put in, but I want it to be welcoming. I did put in a prayer on the plywood right in front of the front door that our house would be welcoming. And I think that hopefully that has been true, but most of my friends say that it's like coming into a spa. It's just very peaceful. And that's exactly the kind of feeling that I want people to have.
Right.
Very peaceful. When you walk in, it's like this really sense of calm.
Yep.
And my children helped me paint that blue elephant. That was Evie's choice of color. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
She made a good choice.
It did. It looks cute.
All right, we're moving on.
Yeah.
The kitchen area. That's cute.
Well, because pretty much everything in the house had been reclaimed or moved from somewhere else, there really weren't any new pieces. Which, as a single mom who, when we first moved into the house, I did not have a huge income. I was working from home. And, I just was making enough to get by for the first few years. And I really wanted to add some new pieces as I could. And almost, if it's not, reclaimed, it's pretty much from IKEA. But I really liked the idea of going through and doing some kind of more farmhousey and vintage things. I love vintage, especially vintage farmhouse in the kitchen. So I added this hutch, and that is actually a vintage bread box. It matched my house perfectly. So it needed a place of honor in the kitchen. So there it sits.
Yep.
Now all you need is some really old Coca-Cola crates.
Yeah. Yep. That would be amazing.
Right. That would be amazing. Moving on. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. The kitchen. The kitchen, I'll tell a little bit about this. Interesting to try to get all of this in the back of the pickup truck.
Yeah.
But we did, and went and set it up, and it's
we stored them in our garage for some period of time
yes,
till we could get, along with the flooring, till we could get all this to happen. But then Caroline, it was all white, and the microwave and the stove are reclaimed from another source, or repurposed, I guess we'd say. And then Caroline got the bright idea of painting the bottom cabinets red, and I love it.
Yep.
You want to talk about that?
I really love Norwegian farmhouses. I took Norwegian in college, and you guys have obviously been to Norway.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I really love the kind of dark cabin feel that a lot of Norwegian kitchens have. And I love rosemaling, which is the floral design that they use. But so I was just happened to look at, cabinets on Pinterest in Norway. And there's either this like really dark green or a navy or this color red. And I already had navy on the feature wall in the living room. And so I decided that I would go with this red color. And I'm so thrilled with the way it turned out.
Yeah.
I thought about maybe doing the upper cabinets as well, but I really love the way that it looks with just the bottom cabinets being done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yeah, I was at Home Depot and Caroline said I need a quart of red paint to do my kitchen cabinets. I'm like, that's not going to be enough. I'll buy her a gallon because if you go back, it's just ridiculously. A quart's doesn't cost that much less, right?
Right.
So I didn't realize she was only painting 3 of her cabinets. She has lots of red paint.
Well, and
She was doing all the cabinets.
No, just the bottom ones, but because they came from an old apartment complex. And so I ended up with the first one. I thought I would just paint, I took the doors off, obviously, and painted everything, but I ended up peeling off. It's basically vinyl that covers these old cabinet or the doors and everything. So I peeled all of that off. And then ended up having to sand it because it was just too smooth because it's like MDF underneath or particle board. So I sanded it and then painted on top of those. And, anytime I do a project like this, I just get a wild hair. I get this from my mother. I just get a wild hair and decide that something needs to change and it needs to happen today.
Quit nodding your head, Barry.
It's true. And it needs to happen now. Because once I've gotten the idea, if I don't do it right now, because I have time for it, it'll never happen again.
Exactly.
So my children think I'm crazy, and I do this in the middle of the night. I painted a sofa one time until like 2:00 in the morning. It was, this green sofa, and I was like, that sofa looks like it needs to be gray, and it was linen. And so I got fabric paint and painted the sofa until 3:00 in the morning. And they came down the next morning and they were like, Mom, what were you doing? But this has become a running joke with them. Evie, my youngest, is like, Mom's moving the furniture again. So it's just become a thing that happens in my house.
Yep. Well, change is good.
You inherited that, honestly.
Yes.
It's never boring. It's never boring. Oh, there she is.
Oh, she's a very little one. She's probably 8 months old here, maybe.
Maybe not even that old.
I think about 6 or 7 months old. She was 10 pounds 6 ounces when she was born, so she was a big baby.
I know.
But
so how do you know?
Yeah.
How can you tell?
She's a week old.
She just was born yesterday, but she looks like a 3-month-old.
This was challenging because trying to keep her hands out of the grout.
The people who can't see, there's a picture of a baby holding, I guess that's not grout, that's the glue, like the mastic stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And she's holding the side of a bucket, and Caroline's got tile surrounding her as Caroline's tiling and nursing the baby in the
Bathroom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great picture.
And there's the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's very large for a tiny house. This bathroom is, I don't know, Caroline, is it like 10 by 11 or something?
Yes, it is.
It's a big space, and it's got you see the washer right there, but there's a dryer on the other side. I don't know if we have a picture of that.
Yeah, I do.
But it's just when we first built it, before there was anything else in there, the tub was there, but I don't know that the sink was there yet, and the washer and dryer certainly weren't there. But it was big enough to, literally you could play hockey in there.
Yeah.
It's a big space.
But we knew that. So let's talk a little bit about what we're looking at. The sink is a Kohler sink that we got at Habitat.
Right.
Yep.
So that's a really expensive pedestal sink.
But
of course we didn't pay that much money for it. And then we put the little arched faucet, so that would be a little more of an upgrade. What do you call that tile? It's like 1920s tile or something. But
it's black and white.
We couldn't get enough. So Caroline had to put a border around the edge of just plain little, like almost subway looking tiles, which you don't see in this
little white
particular
ones.
picture, but it's a little black and white. So it's, that was an extra bit of deal to work with the tile that we could get. But the washer dryer are in here, and you'll notice that the kitchen cabinet leftovers ended up in the bathroom. So Caroline has an upper cabinet from the kitchen that's in the bathroom, and she's painted. That's blackboard paint, I think, Caroline, right?
Yeah, it's chalk paint. Yep. And it's got funny little messages on it, about Dobby finding his lost sock. But I love, first of all, having my washer and dryer in my bathroom because, when the kids have dirty clothes, they just put them straight into the washer, and they know I've trained them now, thankfully, that they're dirty. When the door is open to the washer, they just put their clothes straight in there. And then
that makes it easier.
Yep. The cabinet in the middle is good for folding. And I just have all of my laundry supplies, and I use that cabinet as kind of a medicine cabinet. And I have another one above the toilet that we also use for, medicine cabinet type stuff, deodorant, perfume, things like that. Yes. There's 2 candles on either side of the mirror, which is also reclaimed. And we don't really have a good picture of the lighting fixture above, but it was also reclaimed.
Right.
What lighting fixture do you have above? I don't even remember.
That's the 3 globe one. It looks kind of vintage. It's like a 1930s arched.
So weird. I don't remember it.
Lamp. Yeah, I'll send a picture and show you, or you could just come over because you live,
Right. I mean, it's not like I don't go there, but I'm like, I totally am blanking. And you know what we don't have, Caroline, is a picture of the fact that you have a glass door on your bathroom.
Yes, I do. Yes. I love my glass door.
It's a 9-light outdoor door that we found somewhere. I don't even remember where we got it. And we spray painted the glass with frosting.
Yeah, I frosted it, and I remember it like 2:00 in the morning when the littles were asleep, and I'm, in this enclosed space with this frosting, and I'm like, maybe I should have some better ventilation in here while this is happening.
Right, the little frost paint was very stinky, but anyway, so you can go to the next picture, Barry. And there's the picture of the dryer. Yeah. Yep. It's just side by side with a kitchen cabinet basically in the middle, and leftover countertop. I mean, that is all reclaimed stuff.
Yeah, and the woodwork around the window is also reclaimed from that old house.
Yep.
All
simple, very simple.
Yep, very simple design. Not a simple build.
No. No. We made it as hard on ourselves as we could.
Oh, the exciting shower.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to have a toilet and a shower.
You do have to have a toilet and a shower.
The towel racks, I actually are reclaimed wood, which you can kind of see a little bit of on that wall right there. So we had reclaimed wood. We cut those into squares, and then they have little like stainless steel knobs on them that are kind of vintage looking. So that's where we all hang all of our towels. And that space on the side is a little bit of a linen closet. It doesn't have a door on it, so it's just open shelving. But I had that space and wanted to use it for something, so we just put shelves up in there. But, I think a lot of people are surprised at how big the bathroom is in such a small house, but it doesn't really ever feel that crowded. And if we had to, all 4 of us could be in there at the same time. And it's, a little bit close, but it's not horrible.
Yeah. I mean, who has that size? I don't have that size of a bathroom. Now we're going upstairs, and you can also have a better view of the bookcases that were headed up.
Right.
I don't know when I decided to do that, those bookcases on the landing. I had a smaller bookcase there, and then I was like, you know what? I have all these books. I need more, better bookshelves, but it's become one of my favorite places in the house.
Well, yeah, they're narrow bookshelves on the landing, and they go up really high. So when you start walking up the stairs, you see these really tall bookshelves, and they just really looks nice.
Yeah, it does. It looks great. And
we're of course prejudiced.
We are prejudiced. Now, this is a great picture of a light, and we bought 2 of these, but one of them kind of walked.
Yeah, our
from
electrician
somebody.
took it from us.
But
But that electrician we don't use anymore.
right.
Decided to take it from
But
us.
we bought this light. Did we get this at Gallery 63?
We got it at auction.
We bought it at auction where Beth and I were bidders on a Saab race car.
That's
Not
our
really.
one claim to fame.
Yes.
We were on the TV show.
And I think they came out of an Atlanta church.
I think
I
that's
think
right.
they came out of Grace Methodist.
So this is a
But
really huge light for
it's
that
massive.
small house. It's probably, Caroline, how big do you think that light is? It's right over her head right now. She's sitting up at those windows that you see, which is the landing.
I mean, so look, can you see it? I can just lift
Yes.
my laptop.
Yeah.
It's big. I mean, it's probably 2.5 or
3 feet tall.
Yeah, with it's got a chain that holds it, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It's
Yep.
I
just
love it
this
in there.
part of my house.
Yeah. Good thing because you spend a lot of time in that
Yeah.
office.
I do.
All right.
I spent a lot of time in
Wait.
here.
One more thing.
Oh, one more thing.
Barry backed away, but you can also see we use that reclaimed wood from that house to trim out the windows that Caroline is sitting in. You can't see it as well, obviously, you could see it, but she's got stuff up there now, I think, but you can see we've sort of left the paint on it, like the old patina, sort of what color would that be? Like Caroline kind of like has some green, like greeny taupe or something.
Green. It's kind of gray. It's like a milk paint.
It is
kind of what it is. But it's beautiful. And we framed in this wall and painted it gray so that it would stand out a little bit. And it's coming up the top of my stairs is just gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, again, we feel that way because we did it right, but it is pretty nice. And then we chose not to use sheetrock. We chose to use beadboard. Excuse me. And I don't know if I would do that again. It was messy. And but it looks, because I hate drywalling, but it also, you can see that we just need some more, probably some more battens in it.
Yeah.
But it does make the house feel really cozy.
It was weird to cut.
Yeah, weird to
It
cut.
was a mess to cut. But
Yeah.
this is Caroline's bedroom.
Right.
Again, a very peaceful space.
Yep, that's her bed, and then just you go over to the next side.
Yep.
And there's the
it's
opposite side.
gray. You can see my knee, you can't really see the knee walls, but you can see, everything fits in here really nicely. Of course, there's definitely some consideration and lots of measuring before I bring in any new furniture, just to make sure. And so my bed does pull out a little bit from the wall, but I actually prefer it that way. I don't like it right up against, the wall anyway. But it hasn't been challenging. I really love living in this kind of pseudo A-frame space. It does make decorating tricky sometimes, but it's also very cozy. And it's just become, my bedroom is kind of my paradise. I love the way it looks. I have a chair for reading and meditation. I do yoga here. You can't see it, but underneath that table, underneath the horse picture is my kettlebell. I've got my yoga mat tucked away. So my bedroom is definitely multi-purpose in terms of, I use it for meditation, yoga, reading, writing. And I just love it. It's just a great space to be in. And the ceiling is gray. So I painted it darker color to kind of offset the lighter neutral on the walls. And that also helps make it really grounding as well.
Right.
Help
Yep.
it to be in.
And basically this, if I remember my measurements right, Caroline, I think this is 10 by 16. So it's long and narrow, not narrow, but it's longer because of the side walls. And then the kids' bedroom on the opposite side, which we don't have pictures of today, is the exact same size with a little niche out for the stairs that I was working on in that earlier picture.
Yes.
And
a little cluttered. It's a little cluttered up here.
Well,
but,
it's a working space.
Oh, look, more books.
Well, this is my office. And the desk is all reclaimed wood that I'm looking at right now. And, that's where my computer monitors and everything are. So my daughter and I share this space. She does her schoolwork up here with me, usually while I'm working in the afternoons. And mostly up here over her shoulder are all of my old nursing textbooks and yearbooks and proofs from my authors that the publishing companies that I've done over the years. And, we make it work for us. It's a great space to be in. It's pretty functional. I have, all of my papers and books and reference books that I need for work close to me. And I do have double monitors up there. We did end up putting scarves. Those are scarves, not curtains. I didn't want to ruin the space with curtains or put curtain rods up because these windows are so beautiful and so unique. But when I have Zoom meetings, it was getting a little bit glary. So I had to put something up temporarily. And so that works for now. But hopefully, before too long, we'll be able to pull those down. I just moved them over to the side like I have right now. Just so that I get my natural light fix while I'm working.
The house is oriented almost due south. That was with the intention at some point if you wanted to do solar or whatever. But also in the winter, the sun is starts in about October. The sun is lower on the horizon. So in the summer, these windows are not so flooded with lights. But starting in the fall and winter, we all start getting a lot of heat coming in from the windows, which is what you want. But in the South, sometimes the weather is confused and it can be really hot in the middle of those October to March. So we have to work around our orientation of our houses, doing what it's supposed to do. But then sometimes we're flooded with a lot of light, which is a good bad thing, especially for Zoom meetings.
Yes, like I mean, our weather the last 2 weeks has been dark and rainy and chilly, and now all of a sudden we're upper 60s and bright sunshine.
Right. So. I think Caroline, you guys are doing a little trip out and about here in a minute, and it's going to be what did you say? 72 today?
72 today.
Pretty warm today.
Yeah, which it was 38 when I woke up this morning. And I will say too about this space, we could have turned this into a bathroom to have an upstairs bathroom as well, because it's big enough to have put, a half bath or something. But for me, the more important thing was, I can suffer through having just one bathroom with 4 of us in here, but I really needed that office space because for me, I need to separate my sleeping space and my workspace. You probably noticed we don't have any real electronics upstairs. We only have one TV and that's downstairs, and that was completely intentional. I didn't want to invite anything like that into my bedroom, which is why I wanted to have the office space be completely separate from, not in my bedroom, basically.
Right.
These are the reclaimed floors that young lady was sitting on. These are different reclaimed floors, but we left the paint on this wood.
Yeah.
So it kind of matches those reclaimed windows.
Yes, those are my upstairs floors.
Yeah, they fit together better.
Yeah, they did.
And they're absolutely gorgeous. They're currently covered with a carpet.
This is my favorite space in the whole house.
Right, the office.
Is the office and the floors.
And the reclaimed stuff.
Yep.
And what I don't have is a shot of Caroline's reclaimed wall behind her door, but we'll maybe add that at some point. Now, this was a great shot. So of course I had to share it, Caroline. It snowed about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Caroline captured this shot. We only got maybe an inch. We didn't get the big storm Uri that we thought we were going to get, but this is about an inch of snow. But this shot was just so arresting. We call this our one big tree. And sometimes it has lanterns hanging on it. Right now it doesn't. Maybe there's one left.
It looks like there are sprites in it.
Yeah. Right. Now it does look like there are fairies living in that tree. But it's just been for Caroline a great place to live, great place to raise her kids. And we're so delighted that we can live in her backyard and help her. We try to be very careful about giving her own space. And, we just try not to be in each other's space all the time. But I think it works for our family.
It does. It's when we did this space, we did it with the intention of having a family compound, if you will, when we bought this property. And there are many days that I think we didn't go far enough out, or we don't have enough land.
Right. Especially now that Atlanta continues to push north and Caroline, when we moved up here, there was nothing about like 15 miles south of us, and now that's gone crazy.
Right.
So, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, did we miss anything that you wanted to talk about? We do have at the end slide has your contact information. I want to talk a little bit about what you do as far as being a book editor and that kind of thing. But why don't we just go to that next slide and then.
Oh, well, let's talk about if you're looking at this picture. So it's nighttime. The house is beautiful, all lit up with snow around. And to the left of the house, you can see there's a little mini house there that's also got the same pitch of the Caroline's roof on her house. And that's our well house.
Right. We have a little well house.
We do.
And we have a statue out there that came from our pool in our big house. So
that's right.
It was called Rachel at the Well. I'm like, well, guess where she's going to live?
At the well.
She's going to live at the well.
And she's in all these years, she's only toppled over once.
Right.
And I still don't know how
she's supposed to be a fountain, but we've never hooked her up to any water. But we bought her at the same auction place where we bought that chandelier.
Yes, we did. And that was she was a pain to get home. Let me tell you that much.
I like Barry's like, you're buying a concrete statue
that's 5 feet tall.
Right. Yeah. Right.
All right. So, that's cool, Beth.
I animated it.
She animated it.
All right. So, Caroline, talk about your books, who you are, what you do.
She's done a little bit.
A little bit more, but talk about like your work from home thing.
So I have been working from home since my son was born. I worked in a publishing company right after I finished college. I got hired on as a senior editor for a publishing company locally. And my degree is in English literature, and I minored in publishing and printing arts. But while I was in college, I also was a reading specialist in a public elementary school for 3.5 years. So I have done a little bit of a lot for the last several years.
That's what happens.
I tutor in the humanities. So any humanities subject, particularly I tutor children who are medically fragile and can't be in school in a traditional school for some reason. So I've done a little bit of that, which isn't technically working from home, but it gives me the flexibility to, set my own hours and work with them during the day. And I only have one student left over from that because my real job has kind of taken over, but she's currently in college and I've worked with her for the last 6 years. So,
wow,
that's been something. I know she's amazing. So that does get me out of the house a little bit. But it's been a nice way to have some additional income. But I freelance edit for several different companies in different genres. And that has been a great way for me to make income from home. And pretty much, we have very low overhead being in this house with no rent, which is wonderful. It's given us a lot of peace of mind over the years, especially as a single mom who, does work freelance. That can be its own set of challenges sometimes. And not knowing when your clients are going to pay you, that can be tricky, but not having to worry about rent has been, a huge relief in many ways. And it's also given us the ability to do things with our income that, other families might not be able to do. I took my son. We have a tradition in my house of taking my children to Disney when they turn 7. So my middle child just turned 7 last year, and we ended up going to Disney very cautiously, very safely, even during COVID. But the point of living with low overhead was really to be able to travel and take my children places. And in non-COVID years, I think we'll be able to do that a little bit more. But, I have plans to take them to Australia year after next to go see family that we have there. And, we're a traveling kind of family. And I think that they can get such amazing experiences that way. They are homeschooled right now. We didn't mention that. So we're doing all kinds of things in this house during COVID. Playtime, work time, school time, all of that. So this house really has been amazingly multifunctional, even though it's small, but none of us feel that it's that small. That's not something that any of us ever complain about, is that we need more space. We make it work for us, and we cycle out toys and books and clothes on a pretty regular basis because we live so small. And I think it's been a really great thing for them to know, and they know that their toys get donated. So about every 3 to 6 months, especially before Christmas and birthdays and things, we go through and donate their toys, and they know now, they get bags that are giveaway, trash, and donate or keep. And
Right.
so we go through that whole process many times during the year. And we talk about, giving those things to other families and letting other children have joy through their toys. And they don't have a problem with that anymore. There's no kicking and screaming about getting rid of things. It's just part of life in our house. And, they've just adjusted really well, especially my oldest. She never really had any issues about being here. Now that she's a teenager, she does want her own space. So that is putting a little bit of pressure on mom to make sure we can get that, bedroom downstairs done so that she can have her own space and not have to be with her brother and sister anymore.
Right.
But I've really, I've loved working from home the last 7 years. I used to commute into Atlanta. And that is not something I ever want to do again.
Ever.
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 But it's, it's so, when you love your space and you love being in your space, it doesn't make it hard to want to work at home or want to get out of the house. And it's just been such a wonderful way to live the life that I want to create with my children. And I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to homeschool them and work. I work in the afternoons. Usually we do our homeschooling in the morning. My work schedule is typically 12 to 5 or 6 in the afternoons and evenings. And then sometimes after the kids go to bed, I'll stay up late and, work on books that I need to edit. But, it's just so amazing to live the life that I live. And, I've got friends that don't have the same ability or flexibility. But I've been able to go to things when the kids were in school. I could take, time off and go to school functions. And I just feel very grateful to be able to not only be their mother, but also be in this position where I have the ability to be there for them and work and do all of the things that I want to do. There's a lot I want to accomplish in my life. And, having a farm is definitely one of those. And it just teaches all of us a lot of responsibility and a lot of community. So it's just, I can't say enough good things about living tiny and being able to work from home.
Yeah. And you know what? So the way we work it out with our family is the littles, we call them the littles. They come over at about noon. And so we do our stuff in the morning and then we take care of the littles until Caroline, we send them home at dinner. So she's working and, that kind of thing, and then picks up. So it works for our family. And we try to support each other. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to do a family compound.
Right. That's exactly right.
There's so many people that I talk to that really envy that opportunity to, especially during COVID, to be back and forthing, right? And just have different spaces. And so, as you know, we have we have 4 different buildings on our property. Tiny House 1, Tiny House 2, what we call the Shoffice, which is where we are currently. We also have a barn we built out of pallets, a small barn, but and that was a whole other adventure. And our neighbors came over the other day. Caroline, you weren't out there, but our neighbors came over and they were like, "Is that a barn made out of pallets?" And so the guy's like, "Oh my gosh, now you've got a new project for me." But anyway,
well, and I know that was supposed to be Hap's little pub. We were going to make it into a little community. We love our neighbors. We have them over a lot. We usually, in non-COVID times, we do a lot of neighborhood gatherings. So we were planning on turning it into a pub, but then I kind of brought goats, and then our farm has kind of exploded from there. But what's the point of having all of this property if we're not going to have animals on it?
That's right.
So
I still want to have a Highland cow on here.
The goats, the bunnies, the chickens, the dogs, the cats, right?
That's right.
So traveling is limited unless we get a house sitter,
an
animal sitter.
Well,
that's why
the longer we've been in quarantine, the more animals we seem to have. So we need to get out of quarantine soon so that we stop.
Well, yeah, and now we also have another chicken,
somebody else's chicken,
and a rooster that have adopted us.
Yes.
So,
and our neighbors' goats were eating our stuff, but that's gotten taken care of now. So
they were out. They were out and about the other day.
Oh, were they? Yeah. They keep escaping, but the ghosts are escape artists. But anyway, enough.
Anyway, so all your contact information is here on the screen. Let me get to the bigger screen so people can see it if they want to. Go ahead and give your email address, your website.
Okay.
For folks that
that are
looking
listening
at it, right?
Okay. So my email address is info@editorcaroline.com, CAROLINE. My website is editorcaroline.com, and you can find me on pretty much all social media platforms with some combination of that. And I do have a podcast as well called Inspiration to
Right.
Publication for people who are wanting to write books that you'll hear a familiar voice on my intro because Hap helps me. I never know if I should call you Hap or Barry or Dad. All of the above, I suppose.
All of the above. Just don't call me
General
late for dinner.
helps
Yeah.
me with my podcast. So you can find that if you go to my website, editorcaroline.com, there's links to all of those things there. And the podcast is also located there as well. And all of my books are for sale on the website as well.
Right. So Caroline, the neat thing about why we thought it would be helpful to have Caroline on the podcast. Well, of course, we're pretty proud of Tiny House One.
And her.
And all that work that we did, you see now why we had a Tuff Shed for Tiny House too, because by the time we had done all that stuff, we're like, we're not doing that again.
Yeah, let's let somebody else do that. Oddly enough, the biggest project we chose to do in our house was the floor again.
And we hate it. Anyway, but Caroline does help other people and publish books.
Write books.
Edit and publish. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. So we wanted to make sure you guys had the opportunity to understand that this is something you could potentially do for yourself, to have income. Because yes, Caroline works other jobs, but as she continues to publish more books, she will be able to potentially make a living as an editor and author.
Right. But it's to highlight the opportunity to work from home. And there are, I don't know, there are thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of work from home positions or opportunities or whatever you might want to do from home that would give you the chance to stay home and work, take care of your kids, take care of your property, build your
one
dream
way.
home. And this is just one of those thousands of opportunities. So
we're starting,
and especially now that
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, especially now that everything is virtual. I got offered the job that I currently have I'm an editor-in-chief for a publishing company based in Tampa. And I'm not sure I would have had that opportunity had things with COVID not happened and virtual working been more the norm now. And even a lot of my tutoring students, were comfortable moving on to a Zoom or virtual platform. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity there to be doing things digitally. Of course, a good internet connection would be vital for something like that, which we struggle with some days here living in a small town.
Yes.
But, for the most part, it really isn't an issue. And it just is another way to, think outside of things that you could be currently doing and, just embrace a change, something different.
Yeah. I love it. We're trying to, excuse me, stuff in my throat this morning.
Why don't I cover for you? Why don't you drink some water?
Yeah.
And I will, while we're wrapping up here, give our information out.
Okay.
You can reach us at radiotinyhouse@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at My Tuff Shed Home. And you can visit our website if you'd like to at radiotinyhouse.com as well.
Yep. So I'm starting a kind of a series about people working from home. And this is one of the ones that we wanted to start with. So I have come up with 40 different things that I think people can do from home. I'm sure there's 10,000 of them, but just things that I've trying to help folks do. So I'll put a link in
chocolatier in there.
No, but that would be one.
I'll
put a link in the notes. Obviously Caroline's information will be in the notes, but also I'll put a link to our 40 ways you can work from home.
That's right. There are 40 ways to work from home, and there must be 50 ways to leave your lover.
Exactly. Did we miss anything, Caroline? Even though your father's now getting crazy?
I don't think so.
So we've highlighted Caroline. Before I go, I have to say Rhapsody in Blooms.
Our other daughter. But we're pretty proud of our daughters because they both have become very independent, doing very different things, but also they watched their mother slave away and dad slave away at corporate for so long. I think they decided they did not want that in their life.
That's exactly right.
Am I right, Caroline?
Yeah, I mean, I do have that in some small way. You can't really do my job without getting some
That's true.
sliver of corporate.
But not
it's
corporate
only
the way I did it.
No, it's only part of the time. I do, travel for work, which is good and bad. But it's, that comes with leadership responsibilities. And if I wanted to move up in my field, then that was something that I was going to have to be willing to do. But I have the ability and the flexibility to do that. And so far it's only been once, but as we get out of COVID, it might end up being more. But, there's definitely some stability that's there that I haven't had previously. And as far as corporate, so there's pros and cons to everything. But yes, I think my sister definitely she doesn't do well in boxes. And I think she would be one of the first ones to say that she doesn't. But she also is, we sponsor her on my podcast, or she's one of the sponsors for my podcast. So we're
That's
all,
right.
trying to support each other as far as family. And I think that that's the best thing that we can do for each other.
That's right.
So we're going to highlight that one more time.
Okay.
And it's probably time to wrap this up because we are at almost an hour and a half here.
Yeah, and I'll edit it down a little bit.
So, all right. Well, Caroline, thank you for being our guest today, our first guest in the Work from Home series.
Yep. And
we will see you soon.
Thanks, parents.
All right.
Bye.
We love you. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.